Hello everyone,
Welcome to Good School.
so today we are going to see the chapter.
Anatomy of flowering plants.
So in this chapter there are 4 topics:
Yeah.
the tissues,
Okay.
the tissue system,
Okay.
anatomy of dicot and monocot, secondary growth.
Okay.
So in tissues there are 2 subtopics: meristematic tissues and permanent tissues.
Permanent tissue, there is
In permanent tissues there are 2 divisions: simple tissues,
complex tissue.
complex tissues. And in the second topic, the tissue system, there are 2 subtopics:
Okay.
epidermal tissue system, ground tissue system.
Okay.
And in the third topic, anatomy of dicot and monocot plants, there are 6 subtopics.
6 subtopics. Okay.
First one is dicot root,
Okay.
monocot root, dicot stem,
Okay.
monocot stem, dorsiventral leaf, that is found in dicot, isobilateral leaf, which is found in monocot.
Okay.
So these are the 6 subtopics which comes under anatomy of dicot and monocot plants. And then the fourth topic is secondary growth. In this there are 3 topics which are vascular cambium, core cambium, and secondary growth in roots. In vascular cambium there are 4 divisions: formation of cambial ring,
Okay.
activity of cambial ring,
Okay.
springwood and autumnwood,
Okay.
heartwood and sapwood. So these are the topics, subtopics and divisions which you are going to generally discuss in this chapter. So first we will go with the tissues, in which we will discuss about meristematic tissues. So now we are going to see about the first topic, which is tissues.
Okay.
So these tissues are generally group of cells.
Group of cells formed together called tissue.
Group of cells formed together to perform similar function, to perform common function. It is known as tissues. So here,
2 types of.
based on the capacity of division, whether it can divide or whether it cannot divide, it is divided into 2 types: meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. So now we are going to see about meristematic tissues,
Okay.
the subtopic under tissues. So from here we are going to see generally about meristematic tissues. So these tissues grow. So what are generally meristems?
Meristematic tissues.
So now we are going to see the subtopic under subtopic under tissues, which is meristematic tissues. So what are generally meristems?
Oh, no, I don't know.
In plant,
Plant?
growth occurs.
Yeah.
So where does growth occur? Where the region,
Plant, every region grows to occur.
not in every region.
Except the nodes.
No, not in every region. Growth occur in some regions where active cell division occurs, because cell divide continuously and growth take place. So there only growth take place.
How is it possible in a plant? One part will not grow. Can you please give an example? That
We'll be seeing in our succeeding topics. Okay. So here we cannot say that parts we see morphologically, that external view we cannot see. Inside the plants many parts cannot grow.
Okay.
So here meristems are regions of active cell division. Where active cell division occurs, those regions are known as meristems.
There only the growth will occur.
Yes. So in plants different kind of meristems are present.
Okay.
So meristem at the tip of roots and shoots and produce primary tissues are called apical meristems.
Apical meristem.
Yeah, apical meristems are
produce primary tissues.
which produces primary tissues are nothing but they just initially the plant grows, right? So those tissues are known as
Initial tissue.
primary tissues. So meristems at the root, tip of the roots are known as root apical meristem, and the meristems which are at the tip of the shoot is known as shoot apical meristem. Okay, root apical meristem is ram, shoot apical meristem sam. Okay, tip of the root, tip of the shoot. So meristems are generally actively dividing region. Okay, here in the shoot apical meristem, when the shoot start growing, shoot apical meristem is will always be at the top. The shoot will start growing. And some meristems will be left back. It will grow, and some meristems will be left back. It will grow. Shoot apical meristem will be, some meristems will be left behind. So some meristems will grow into auxiliary bud. Auxiliary bud are nothing but which gives rise to branches. So they grow and they give rise to branches. So those shoot apical meristem which are left behind gives rise to branches, and mostly it will be at the top of the shoot. Okay. While it growing, some will be left behind it. Not all the cells will be put at the tip. Some will be left behind. Okay. So meristems, okay, they give rise to auxiliary bud. Okay. So meristems between mature tissues. Mature tissues are nothing but those tissues which get mature. Okay, those tissues are mature. So meristems in between those mature tissues are known as intercalary meristem.
Okay.
So these are observed generally in grasses and many greeny plants. Okay. So what this intercalary meristem does? So it regenerates.
So what is intercalary?
Intercalary meristem. Okay. It is a word.
No, what is intercalary? Is there any meaning for it?
Do you know the meaning of meristem?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, tell.
Different kinds of cells that get divided.
Regions where active cell division happen. We gave them a name meristem. Why did you give the meristem name there?
Because it has the name for this sentence.
Intercalary means it is between the two mature tissues. So we have intercalary meristem. Why did this intercalary meristem came here?
Okay.
So like that only this everything. So meaning of that word means it is between the two mature tissues. Okay. So it is generally present in green plants, like for example grasses. So the function of this meristem is to regenerate the parts which the grazing animals like herbivores will eat grasses.
Okay.
So this meristem will regenerate the parts which are ate by those organisms. So intercalary meristem that does that function. Okay. And generally this apical meristem, shoot apical meristem, root apical meristem and intercalary meristem, these three are known as primary meristems because they develop primary plant body. So that is known as primary tissues. Okay, generally primary tissues. So these primary meristems which are formed early in the plants and contribute to the primary plant body. So we have generally seen about meristematic tissues. Some more points are there in meristematic tissues. So we'll see that in our next slide.
Okay.
Some more characteristics of meristematic tissues. So now we are going to see some more characteristics of meristematic tissues. So this is the continuation of the last topics, last points we have seen.
Can you draw a diagram of tissue?
Which tissue?
Meristematic tissue or
Meristematic tissue.
or general tissue?
Plant is full of tissue, and meristematic tissue we cannot draw a specialized tissue. There are many meristematic tissues.
General tissue.
Tissues are nothing but group of cells.
Okay.
Group of cells capable of dividing with the nuclear tissue.
Okay.
So here, mature regions of roots and shoots.
Okay.
So these produce woody axis. First we saw primary, so now it is mature. So therefore it produces, the stem is generally woody in many plants, right? So it becomes woody. Okay, woody axis. Do you see any plants while growing itself it will be woody? No, while growing it will be green. And after growing,
But some plants will grow like woody. Some plants I have seen.
some plants like coconut.
Yeah, like coconut and another plant I forgot about the name. It will be very hard when it's growing stage.
So that in those plants it will get mature soon.
When growing itself, it's wood in a plant or?
Growing itself it will be woody, and they have specialized cells for that. So most of the plants it will be green while growing. The stems will be green while growing.
But it will long live, am I right? That woody, when it's growing itself, it will be woody.
Maybe.
Okay.
So here when these become mature, they produce woody axis and appear later than primary meristems. So after primary meristems they appear, and these are called secondary or lateral meristem. So these meristems are called secondary meristems, which are after the primary meristem. So here it is called a secondary or lateral. Lateral is nothing but the sides.
Okay.
So lateral meristem. So this secondary or lateral meristem are cylindrical meristems.
Okay.
So examples are fascicular, vascular cambium, interfascicular cambium, and core cambium. We will be seeing the three structures in our succeeding topics. These are the examples.
You will explain the examples in the succeeding topics.
Yes.
Okay.
Fascicular vascular cambium, interfascicular cambium, core cambium. Okay. So these are responsible for producing secondary tissues. So this is our secondary or lateral meristem, right? So they are cylindrical.
Tissues are depend upon these factors.
Not factors, these are examples. So these produce secondary tissues. These divide and produce secondary meristems. Okay. And here division in both primary and secondary meristems forms the newly formed cells.
Okay.
So these cells can become structurally and functionally specialized. Other than some cells become structurally and functionally specialized. Some cells. So these cells, when specialized, they lose the capacity to divide.
Okay.
So when they lose the capacity to divide, these cells become permanent tissues.
They will never.
They will not divide
till the plant age. They will not.
Yes, they will until the plant for some period, and according to the characteristics, it will change.
Okay.
So if these are specialized, they will not. They will lose the ability to divide. And some cells can regain the ability to divide. So there are some cells.
Oh, after developing, they are specialized, when they are gaining speciality, they will lose the ability. Then they will get
after some time, some cells
energy to get to regain.
They'll regain to divide. Okay. So now if they lose the capacity to divide, these cells are known as permanent cells, permanent or mature cells, which are known as permanent tissues.
If they again regained, they are not called as permanent cells.
Yes.
Then they are called as
meristematic. That we will be seeing in our succeeding topics. So first they will specialize and they lose the capacity to divide. And these cells become, if they lose the capacity to divide, these cells become permanent or mature cells, which are also known as mature tissue, permanent tissues. So these become permanent tissues. So during the formation of primary plant body, specific regions of apical meristem, okay. So specific regions of apical meristem, like root apical meristem and shoot apical meristem. So specific regions, when they grow primary plant body, specific regions produce dermal tissues, ground tissues, and vascular tissues. Okay. So these three they will be producing. About these three we will be seeing later.
So what will produce these? Who will produce these?
Yeah, specific regions of apical meristem tissues.
Specific regions of
apical meristem. It can be shoot apical meristem. Okay. It can be root apical meristem or anything like that.
Specific regions. Okay.
So about these three we will be studying
the succeeding topics. Okay. Everything we are going to study in the succeeding subtopics.
Yes.
Okay.
So now we have seen about meristematic tissues.
Okay.
So next we are going to see permanent tissues which lose the which do not divide.
And we have some subtopics under permanent tissues.
Yes.
Okay. That also in one slide will you explain? Or?
No.
Okay.
We will see how the topic is very big.
Okay.
So now we are going to see permanent tissues. So first we saw about meristematic tissues. So now we are going to see about permanent tissues.
The second subtopic under tissues.
Yes.
Okay.
So these permanent tissues do not divide. So we have seen it.
So they do not divide. Last topic is last
yes.
subtopic is okay.
So here the cells.
Will they not divide after they get gain energy to divide? Or
Some cells.
Some cells, okay, like the same.
We cannot say that one. Some cells can regain the property.
Meristematic tissues, okay.
So here permanent tissues do not divide.
Do not divide, okay.
And when some cells are similar in structure and function, these are known as simple tissues.
Similar in function, simple in function is simple tissues.
Similar in structure and function. All the cells are similar in structure and function is known as simple tissues. And those cells which have many different types of cells, those tissues which have many different types
of cells, okay.
It is known as complex tissues.
Complex tissues.
So now we are going to see about simple tissues which have the same cells.
Subtopic under permanent tissues.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are going to see about simple tissues.
Okay.
So simple tissues are all made of one type of cells.
Simple tissues is made of one type of cells. Okay.
So the simple tissues are made up of are categorized into three categories.
Parenchyma, collenchyma,
Sclerenchyma.
Okay.
So first we are going to see about parenchyma. So in this parenchyma, majority of the components in the organs of the plants are made up of parenchyma. Major component within organs. So majority of tissues in the organs is made up of parenchyma cells. So these cells are isodiametric. Isodiametric means similar in structure. Okay, these are similar, like all will have similar diameter. All cells will be having similar in diameter. So these cells can be spherical, oval, round, polygonal in shape, and etc. in shape. These are available. So the cell walls in parenchyma are so thin, made up of cellulose. And these cells can be closely packed, or they may have a small intercellular spaces in like this. So these are closely packed, but also they have small intercellular spaces like this. So these are intercellular spaces, and all the cells will look like almost same, isodiametric. Okay. And these cells perform functions like photosynthesis, storage, and secretion.
Okay.
They perform photosynthesis, they store, and they secrete. They perform functions like that generally. So these are parenchyma cells. So next we will see about collenchyma and sclerenchyma cells, how they are arranged and what function it is doing under simple tissues. These are composed of one type of cells. All are parenchymatic cells, and all are one type of cells only. They do not have different. This will store, this will segregate. They do not segregate like that. All will perform same thing and same
so
function.
they are called simple cells.
Simple tissues.
Yes.
Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. So first we have seen about parenchyma.
That's the major types of cells.
Major component within organs.
Component.
So now we are going to see about collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Okay?
Okay. Next slide.
Yes. Under simple tissues. So after that we will be seeing about complex tissues. Okay. In the complex tissues we will be seeing again subtopics where xylem, phloem.
So first subtopic is over.
No, first topic is tissues.
First topic is tissues.
Under the two subtopics, which is permanent tissues and which is meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Meristematic we have seen.
Okay.
So under permanent tissues we have two divisions, which is simple tissues and complex tissues. In simple tissues we have three categories: parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. And in complex tissues also we will be having many categories that we will be seeing in the next upcoming slides. So now we will see about collenchyma and sclerenchyma. We are going to see about collenchyma here. So these occur in layers below the epidermis in dicot plants.
Can you explain epidermis?
Epidermis is the outermost layer in plants.
Outermost layer?
Yes, outermost layer, yes, outer layer in plants. The outer layer.
Of the outermost layer, the peel of the Skin is epidermis.
Epidermis. In leaves also epidermis is there, and in
Everything
stems also
epidermis is
epidermis is
there.
there.
In
Even
plant
in our skin epidermis is there. So everything epidermis is there. Some plants this epidermis is covered by cuticle. So that is not epidermis. So generally in plants outermost layer is epidermis.
Okay.
So these occur in layers below the epidermis in dicot plants.
Just below the epidermis. If you peel off the epidermis, this will occur. Okay.
In dicot
In
plants.
dicot plants, not in monocot plants.
In monocot plants it will be present but not to the next layer of epidermis.
Okay. It will be present in another layer.
In some layers.
Okay.
So here cells are much thickened. They are so thick. The cells are so thick at the corners. These are thick at the corners due to deposition of cellulose, hemicellulose and pectin.
Okay.
Like here, these are thickened at the corners due to deposition of cellulose.
Hemicellulose. Can you explain hemicellulose?
Yeah, it is like material like cellulose.
Material like cellulose.
It is
but not cellulose.
No.
Okay. What is
And pectin, it is also a substance.
like cellulose but not cellulose? Pectin.
Pectin is a different substance. Cellulose is a different,
that's not
and
like
hemicellulose.
cellulose.
So these three due to these three substance deposits at the corners, so these are thickened at the corners. These cells are thickened at the corners, and these cells contain chloroplasts. So therefore they assimilate food, they make food.
Okay.
And intercellular spaces are totally absent in these cells. They do not have
there are no spaces in between. They are attached together. They are put together. Okay.
And
Bunch of
yes.
cells. Okay.
So since these are too strong in the sense a little bit they are thick and
So
they
they are attached so that they are so thick and so strong. It's attached. Okay.
So therefore they provide a mechanical support. Mechanical support is nothing but to hold something mechanically, to hold it straight and to hold. They gives it
To hold it correctly.
like roots. Okay. So here like petiole, the petiole of a leaf. Petiole is that a leaf, it connects a leaf lamina with its leaf base. So that petiole, it will be composed of Sclerenchyma cells. It will just support it mechanically. And when comes the leaves waves, that also it helps and it supports, right?
It's like
Yes. So it supports that leaves and young stem also. This Sclerenchyma supports.
Sclerenchyma supports.
Yes.
Okay.
So here these are the thickened corners, and this is protoplasm, and inside it is vacuole. Vacuole is nothing but with water and excretory products, and middle is the cell wall.
Okay. To divide this.
It is a cell wall which is the outermost of the cell.
Outermost of the
cell.
Okay, it's a bunch of together, which is fully sticking to everything.
Which one?
This cells.
Yeah, it will not have intercellular spaces.
Okay, they will not even split. Okay. So in this Sclerenchyma completed, the next sheet topic is
Sclerenchyma.
Sclerenchyma. Okay.
Sclerenchyma.
Sclerenchyma.
So now we are going to see Sclerenchyma, which is the third division under simple tissues.
Okay.
So here Sclerenchyma consists of long narrow cells with thick and lignified cell walls having few or numerous pits. So these are long, these are narrow.
Okay.
These cells are thick.
Okay.
And lignified cell walls. What do you mean by lignified?
No, I don't know the meaning.
Lignified cell walls, or the cell walls have some pores, or they have some lumen like structure. Lumen are nothing but space.
Space, okay.
Okay. So they
between this outer and the inner, there is some space.
no, to outside it will be some space like that one.
Oh, like this.
And yes,
Going, okay.
and
Like
pit is that.
outer space.
Yes, and pit, numerous pits are nothing but there will be numerous pits like
This
like gaps.
Okay.
Okay.
This gaps. Okay.
Those gaps.
Yeah, that is only this.
In these, generally gaps will not be there. In some cells it will not be there actually. Lignified, okay. And here, these are usually dead. These are dead cells.
These are dead. There is no
cells.
use of these cells.
No, there are use, but these are dead. There is use, but these are dead cells. Without protoplasts, they do not contain any protoplasts. Protoplast is nothing but the surrounding fluid in a cell, inside a cell. They do not contain protoplasts, and these are dead. So on the basis of form, structure and origin and development, these Sclerenchyma cells are divided into two.
Lumen,
These are fibrous and sclerids. Sclerids. So first we are going to see about fibers. So fibers are thick-walled, elongated and pointed cells. So these generally occur in groups. Okay, like this, and this will be narrow with thick. This inside this space is known as lumen.
The space is known as lumen. The space is empty. Nothing is there.
No.
It's like hole. Anything can pass into it.
Generally, the cell. Yes.
Anything can.
Because there is no protoplast, not anything can pass into it. It is cell very small. Nothing can pass through it. It just have gaps.
No, that size another cell can pass through it. Another cell
no, it cannot pass. It generally occurs in groups. It will be attached to
there will be a gap.
No, there will be a little gap. That's it. And these are thick. So these are generally fibers. So next we are going to see about sclerids. Sclerids.
Okay.
So these sclerids are spherical. It can be oval.
Like this thing?
Yes, or it can be cylindrical in structure.
Cylindrical, like this.
No, not like that.
Cylindrical.
It will be oval but cylindrical. It will be big like this.
It will be like this.
Yes.
Like this.
Yes.
Okay.
So here also these are highly thickened dead cells with narrow cavities. These have very little lumen. Here a big lumen, but there very narrow lumen.
Yeah.
So it will have narrow cavities, which is the lumen.
Okay.
And these are generally found in fruit walls.
Fruit walls.
Like of nuts, fruit walls of nuts.
Okay.
And pulp of fruits like guava.
Okay.
Inside the guava, pulp is there, the fleshy part. So there it will be present. Pear and sapota.
Okay.
So these cells will be present generally.
These cells?
Yes.
Meaning n number of cells?
Yes.
Okay.
And some seed coat.
These cells?
Yes.
Okay.
Seed coat of legumes. Only in these fruits we are eating, not in all fruits. Only these
fruits. I'm saying that only these fruits. Okay.
And seed coat of legumes.
Seed coat of
legumes. Legumes are nothing but peas and everything. We studied in legume nursery. Yes. And the tea leaves. So tea leaves. Leaves of tea. In the leaves of tea, there will be these will be there.
Okay.
So here, generally, if you see the structure, these are thick-walled. They have a narrow lumen, and these have pits too.
Okay.
So this is the structure of.
So the gap is in between here.
That
like
one is.
That, but here it's small. So
yes.
Small, okay?
Which one?
This one here.
No, that is generally center. That is generally center lumen. Okay. But this have a great lumen. These have a small lumen which have these gaps.
No, I am talking about this thing. This is a whole leg structure.
Yes, that is whole leg structure.
Yeah,
that is.
Okay.
Okay, so which is lumen you are saying?
This is only lumen, the tube.
Yes. So you are correct. So this is about sclerids, fibers, which comes under Sclerenchyma, under simple tissues. So from up till this, the simple tissues are over. So next we are going to complex tissues, which are made up of more than one type of cells.
More than one type of cells.
Yes. Okay. So next we will go to complex tissues. Okay.